Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about the very bizarre case, the very rabbit holey disturbing case of Kelly Ronahan, the woman who ended up getting both of her legs amputated after a series of terrible events with the help from trolls on the internet. I've gotten this video recommended to me several times in the last couple years, but I got an email from somebody named Kelly, not related, not the same Kelly, of course, totally different, but her name's Kelly, and she emailed me with this recommendation, and that's kind of when I looked into it more after getting her email, and I just decided that I really wanted to tell this story on my channel. No one is unalived in this story or anything like that, but it is very unsettling and very disturbing, especially the material that goes along with it. There's also a lot of SH that's going to be involved. So if that's not something that's going to be safe for you, and I don't mean like minor SH, I mean it's pretty surrounded on SH and also just very, very bad. Like I cannot overstate just how detrimental the SH is that we're going to talk about. So if that's not good for you or your mental health right now, like that's okay. You don't have to watch. Like, I totally understand. So, okay. For those of you that do, though, we're going to get right into it. I do have a wonderful sponsor for today's video, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. A portion of today's video is sponsored by Factor. I'm very grateful to Factor for supporting my channel today, and I actually reached out to them because after I tried them a few months ago, I just started buying them on my own. I love their product so much that I was just ordering it personally on my own with my own money for most weeks for several months. So I just reached out to them again and I was like, hey guys, I want to promote your product really badly because I absolutely love it. I love Factor because I'm a single gal who hates cooking, grocery shopping, I hate prepping, I hate the cleaning up. And with Factor, I don't have to do any of those things, and I still get a well-balanced, fresh, never frozen, very nutritious meal out of it. Their meals come in this cold box right to your door. It's delivered right to you. You don't have to do anything, and it's ready in just 2 minutes. So all you have to do is pick a meal, heat it, and eat it. Enjoy. So instead of cooking, I have a lot more time to get back into the sun and enjoy the warmer weather we've been having. So Factor's not only cheaper than takeout anyway, but they're also just very sustainable. Factor offsets 100% of their delivery emissions to your door. They source 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and their offices, and they feature sustainably sourced seafood in all of their meals. It's super easy. It's literally 2 clicks to skip an order if it doesn't work for you that week or you're going to be out of town. And as if Factor was not already wonderful enough, they are offering my viewers a huge discount on their first box today. That means that you can all try it out for yourself and just taste the food for yourself and see what I'm talking about. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code HannahTheHorrible50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. That is HannahTheHorrible50 to get 50% off. Kelly Ronahan was born in Kelowna, Canada, alongside her twin sister Gina. She would attend Okanagan College and soon afterwards became an extremely skilled and talented ballet dancer and even a ballet instructor. And that's about all we know about Kelly's background. I couldn't find any other information. There's going to be a little bit about her childhood later, but no details that we know of, which is fine. Like, I don't think that information needs to be public if she never made it public. So with that, if you dig very, very hard, you can find her date of birth. I mean, it is public on the internet. However, it is pretty hard to find. And so I'm not going to say exactly how old she is. Like, I'm not going to just like put out her birthday just in case. However, I will say that now she is about 40 years old. All of this started when she was in her late 20s, early 30s, but it doesn't really get more specific than that. All right, so Kelly's story all started in 2014. Kelly developed, seemingly out of the blue, a very strange and mysterious blood disorder or blood disease. And her doctors, all the medical professionals, no matter who she saw, nobody could figure it out. Her hemoglobin count would just rapidly decrease and just be very, very low every time somebody checked it. And they just could not figure out why. So she was left undiagnosed and very frustrated by the lack of answers as her health just began to decline more and more. So while she wasn't diagnosed with a specific blood disorder, her doctors did agree that since her hemoglobin was so low, she did need blood transfusions. She needed blood transfusions every 2 weeks, and she would get 3 bags of blood from 3 different donors every 2 weeks because she was that low in hemoglobin. And in spite of the fact that they didn't know exactly what was going on with her, at least that would keep her alive, essentially. Without these blood transfusions, Kelly's organs would fail and she would likely die within a few weeks, give or take. The transfusions did help her quite a bit. She was very grateful for that. However, her symptoms weren't really getting any better while she was staying alive from the transfusions. Her health still was not good. Her health still seemed to decline in spite of it. This was, of course, heartbreaking for Kelly and life-shattering in some ways because she didn't know if these health conditions would prevent her or stop her from going back to ballet. And it got to the point where she wasn't sure she'd ever get to be a ballet instructor ever again. And I mean, regardless of the circumstances, that would be devastating. These blood transfusions and all of this continued until 2016. She ventured to say that perhaps it was multiple sclerosis or MS that she had, or maybe she had uterine fibroids. However, still there was no evidence to back up those diagnoses and nobody knew for sure. By March of 2016, she had received at least 95 liters of blood from generous donors, but she claimed that her body was becoming quote unquote intolerant to the blood. She said a lot of this in a March 2016 Global News Canada news segment when they interviewed Kelly about her rare blood disease in an effort to raise awareness about the donated blood shortage in British Columbia at the time. And this is where she started garnering a lot more attention for her story. In the news segment, we see her in the hospital getting transfusions, seeming to be in good spirits, and even doing some ballet moves while hooked up to her IV bags. So by all indications, Kelly was getting some attention for this online and for her weird, mysterious illness that she couldn't seem to figure out. However, after that global news segment, it definitely got a lot more eyes on her and a lot more followers. She had an Instagram account called Differentially Kelly, I think is how you say differentially, right? Differentially Kelly. And she started posting pretty regular updates about her health condition. Many people do this on social media. They've been doing it for decades. However, it's become way more prevalent in recent times with the rise of social media and the different platforms and TikToks and all that. But it's not a weird thing to do. A lot of people like to do that to feel supported and kind of feel like they have this community of people rallying for them or just helping other people with similar ailments. Kelly's Instagram posts gained more traction and she was getting sympathy and well wishes and support from all of these random strangers off the internet. However, here's where things started to take a turn. Not everybody was sympathetic and not everybody was kind to Kelly. Low Cow Farms got a hold of her story, as well as Kiwi Farms. If you don't know or you're not aware, Low Cow is pretty much like the evil website that no public figure ever goes to unless they are a masochist. It's one of those websites that you just avoid if you have any sort of following whatsoever on the internet because people are ruthless. Everybody's anonymous, and it's pretty much a troll site where everybody nitpicks, and it's not even like holding people accountable for their, mistakes or their wrong actions. It's like actively trying to cancel people because they get joy out of canceling people and the drama. It makes them feel better about their own pathetic lives, basically, to try to cancel anybody and everybody they can. It's a lot. And the thing is that, not only are a lot of people on these sites just needlessly cruel, Like, it's all about, I mean, just being as cruel as you can, mocking, making jokes at people's expense, making fun of appearances. They love doxing people. They just love, I mean, straight up harassment. It can get very ugly and very bad. I even read that these websites have actually been contributors to people unaliving themselves. Anywho, Lolcow started this rumor that Kelly was actually not sick at all, but they got this whiffed of her SHing in the past, and they therefore believed that Kelly was using SH to purposely induce anemia. Hence, her mysterious blood disease was not so mysterious. While Lolcow is a cesspool of assholes, it turns out in this case, unfortunately, they were most likely correct. The Vice article about this weird phenomenon of influencers faking illnesses interviewed Kelly's twin sister, Gina. Gina would say that while her sister was a very sweet person, she does have quite a bit of a victim mentality, and that this victim mentality was developed from a, quote, lack of affection in their childhood. Gina kind of dodges the question, though, when Vice asks her if her sister Kelly was faking this anemia, though, and she says, quote, regardless of how it happened, there is a problem mentally, and she still needed the blood. Which honestly, I totally agree with that statement. We are still so terrible to people that struggle with mental illness, and while I am a big proponent and believer of the fact that in spite of your trauma, you're still responsible for your actions, pretty much no matter what. However, I do think that mental illness is still very misunderstood. And if it is true that this entire blood disease that Kelly claimed to have was self-inflicted, it does not change the fact that Kelly needed blood transfusions to save her life. Mental illness is still an illness. And like, what? Like, you want to argue that Kelly didn't deserve like real and basic medical care and necessary medical care because the source of the ailment was a chemical imbalance in her brain? That seems really messed up to me. I would gladly donate blood to somebody who was SHing themselves if they needed it. That just seems so messed up to me. And people double down on that statement. There's some people online that are kind to Kelly, but a lot of the comments I read were just like absolutely brutal. Like, she does not deserve this medical care and these transfusions because she's allegedly faking it. Like, if you think about that statement for more than just a second, that makes no sense. But according to Lolcow and Kiwi Farms, this is exactly what they thought. A lot of people echoed the sentiment that she didn't deserve these transfusions because her injuries were allegedly self-inflicted, and therefore there was other people that were more deserving of it. This is the exact same thing, in my opinion, to saying that if somebody attempts to unalive themselves and they fail, that they shouldn't be taken to the hospital because they did it to themselves. That is exactly the same thing to me. So now we're in July of 2016. Kelly returns to the hospital after complaints of experiencing seizures. It was around this time that the doctors started to suspect that Kelly's story wasn't really adding up because they had determined that she was 1000% faking the seizures. And so, of course, they discharged her because she wasn't actually in danger at that moment. After this hospital admission, though, and even though Kelly went on social media and admitted that the doctors were calling her seizures fake and that she was faking them, but she said that the doctors were conspiring against her. But all throughout this time, throughout 2016, most people are still very supportive. People are organizing blood drives literally in Kelly's name. But then as 2017 rolls around, Kelly develops an eating disorder, a pretty bad one. She develops anorexia as well as an obsession with over-exercising. In this same year, Kelly's port, if you don't know what a port is, it's basically like a semi-permanent IV. It's something that they can put, it's a little procedure that you do where you can get this better IV put in your arm, and that way for, I think it can be in there for months is my understanding, but I think some people have it even longer, and they can take blood from it and put medicine into you without having to poke you every time. They're really nice if you have one and you need one. But anyway, Kelly had one for her blood infusions, and hers became infected, and she actually went into sepsis. Fortunately, she survives this episode and recovers. But it's around this time that she's still posting on social media, and people are starting to notice SH scars on her body. And she would claim that they were like 3 years old before she ever got sick, but people were speculating that they didn't look as if they were 3 years old. They looked a lot newer than that, so people thought that she was actively SHing as well. After this, her port gets infected yet again, and she goes back to the hospital. This time she's admitted for 3 weeks. Right before the doctors told her that she was going to be discharged, Kelly starts having seizures again, and she develops a rash. I have no idea if the seizures this time were real or not. I couldn't find any answer on that. A lot of people say it's convenient that it was right before she was discharged, but take that as you will. She was successfully discharged anyway. They kicked her out of the hospital anyway, but she had to return in April 2017 for something else. We don't know what it was, but it was for this visit that they did a routine blood draw, and they tested it again for hemoglobin, but Kelly apparently didn't know that they were doing that particular test. And sure enough, it comes out normal. Her hemoglobin is miraculously gone back up and is back to normal levels. People online, of course, went wild over this revelation, claiming, I think Kelly posted it herself, like she's posting all of this, and people are speculating left and right that this was proof that she was faking this blood disease the whole time, which it's likely that she was. We'll talk about this later. I'm not denying the fact that the evidence all points to this being some sort of Munchausen's or other mental illness, that she is faking all of this stuff, or at least self-inflicting a lot of it. I'm not denying that, but the speculation was just like a lot. Like, I don't know why we're speculating so much and saying for a definitive fact about people's health conditions. Kelly claps back at everybody and says that the doctors were scheming against her. Like I said, she said the same thing when the doctors said that her seizures were fake. She said that the doctors were all scheming against her, like all conspiring behind her back. Even though she was really having this stuff, they were like telling her that, gaslighting her, which does not make a lot of sense, I will admit. She denies ever faking the seizures. She says they were real. Okay, so now we're in 2018. We're in April 2018. Kelly gets that port completely removed because, first of all, she kept getting infections, which can happen with ports. That's like the biggest risk. It's very scary. But she didn't need the transfusions anymore because her blood disease just miraculously healed out of nowhere. It's at this point that she then claims that she was going to need a hysterectomy for the fibroids, which again, she claimed that she had, but there was no like solid evidence for. And then soon after this, so that was April, now in May 2018, the doctor said her seizures were fake. Her port's been removed. She's no longer getting blood transfusions because she's no longer anemic. So that sickness kind of disappears. And right around that time, right afterwards in May, Kelly's feet, very conveniently, a lot of people would say, begin to swell, and she gets blisters all over her feet and her lower legs. This is where the story is going to get pretty scary. People, of course, speculate about this as well. I will agree with them. It's very odd timing that conveniently when her blood disease gets cured, something else then suddenly comes up. And it is clear by the photos online that she's been picking the scabs and the blisters on her lower legs quite a bit. Now, before I keep going on, Kelly does admit in a post that she is a quote unquote picker, which means, you know, a lot of humans do this. It's kind of a monkey brain thing, but we pick scabs and everything like that because it's there. It's hard not to, but she has it pretty bad. So she admitted that she was a picker, but that was the only time she ever said that she was making the wounds worse on her own. Everybody else really rolled with that and blew it way out of proportion. Again, not saying it's not true, but I'm just saying people were really filling in the blanks here. But it does look like by the pictures that she was picking at the scabs too. She says that she's in massive pain, but that the doctors refuse to give her any prescription pain meds. Likely because of her history of lying, so they're worried about getting her pretty intense meds like that. But the other thing is that the doctors might have been suspecting that she was picking the blisters and the scabs, making it worse on her own. And if she couldn't feel anything in her legs, if the pain was gone, then it would be worse, right? Like she would be more inclined to pick if she wasn't feeling the pain with it. Kelly announces on social media that she has Behçet's disease. This is a rare syndrome. When people who have it, their blood vessels are inflamed all throughout their body. It can cause extremely painful ulcers and blisters, typically on their mouth or genitals. I got that online. I'm not a medical professional, just FYI. And then throughout the summer of 2018, Kelly's just spiraling more and more. She is posting photo after photo of her legs, her blisters, and they get very, very graphic, and they just get worse and worse on social media. At this time, she's claiming that she's still experiencing seizures, that the doctors are worried about circulation problems, and of course, nerve damage from how bad the wounds are. At this point, they believe that she has some sort of autoimmune disease, and the doctors, at least according to Kelly, the doctors had actually diagnosed her with that. She cannot stop posting pictures of her legs. At the time, she was posting it publicly on social media. Now they're hidden in the depths of Reddit. Like they're kind of, you got to dig a little bit to find them if you do want to see them, but they're very, very, very graphic and very gruesome. And it kind of blows my mind a little bit that she was just posting those publicly. I think she did get banned from some social media for a while, or her posts got hidden, but a lot of the times they didn't, and she was able to post this kind of stuff on social media. And I just imagine now reading people's reactions to having seen the photos. They're like, wow, I wish I had never seen that. I miss the days I had never seen that. That's the worst thing I've ever seen, ever. Some people saying that it made them sick. Some people saying that they're like pretty desensitized, but that was too much for them. So it's just kind of blows my mind that they were just public for anybody who came across them to see back in the day without choosing to see them. Anyway, don't recommend going to find them. I know some people that are morbidly curious are going to go look anyway. Yes, I looked at all of them because I can't help myself and I have a problem, but just overall, like you probably don't want to see them. There's a couple that get really bad. I will talk about that in a minute. But anyway, Kelly's also emotionally spiraling. Like she's upset that there's negative reactions of people online and that she feels like everybody has turned against her. However, all this negative attention doesn't seem to sway her from continuing to post. Most people by this point are convinced that Kelly has self-inflicted all of these things on herself and is making them worse and worse on purpose. Although I am not stating this as a fact, it is pretty clear to most people that Kelly was suffering from Munchausen's. Munchausen syndrome is a mental illness. It's fairly rare where the affected person pretends to be sick and will even induce symptoms in order to garner sympathy and attention from others. It is very different from hypochondria, because hypochondria, the person genuinely believes that they're sick in spite of clear tests, but they often will go to the doctor actually convinced that they're sick. In Munchausen's, the person knows that they're not sick and they're well aware of it, but they like the attention they get from pretending to be sick. In Kelly's case, many people have diagnosed her with Munchausen's by internet. And that's kind of the phrase you'll see. If you look up that phrase, she often comes up. But it was because she wasn't so much getting the attention from family and friends. She was getting all this attention and sympathy from the internet. Whether it was good or bad, she was getting a lot of attention. And I touched on this before, but given all the evidence, I do agree that it's likely one way or another Kelly was faking these illnesses. Given everything laid out, I think it's very unlikely that these things were genuine. But I'm not going to diagnose her with Munchausen's because I'm not her doctor. Like, I'm not her doctor, I'm not her psychiatrist. It's very weird, in my opinion, to just diagnose somebody with something like that without, I mean, even if you're a medical professional, you're not her medical professional. Like, any medical professional wouldn't internet diagnose someone. So I just find the behavior of people involved in this, or the people gossiping about this, I find their behavior weird. Munchausen seems very possible, but I don't know that for sure, and you don't know that for sure. So let's just not speculate on other people's diagnoses unless they've actually come out and said and been open about the fact that they're diagnosed with that. Like, can we just not do that? What we can say, and what I think is fair to say, is that one way or another, Kelly was definitely mentally struggling. And clearly she was struggling very, very deeply. I can have empathy and sympathy for that particular aspect, even if I do believe that she was essentially lying about a lot of her illness. While I understand the argument that using medical resources and essentially crying wolf can be harmful to groups of people that actually do need those medical services, I understand that argument. I respect that, but I think that it's hard in this case because Kelly did need the resources. She was struggling. This was a cry for help. She still needed that stuff regardless to stay alive. She still needed it. I don't think the source of that changes that fact. And she deserved help. And so I just don't think it's fair to say that she just didn't deserve medical treatment. I still hold her responsible for her actions. Like, I do think that lying on the internet to such a degree is not good, because it does break people's trust when people actually come forward with their diagnoses. But to say that she didn't deserve medical treatment is just really cruel to me. In early 2019, Kelly's legs get so bad that she needed skin grafts. The procedure was successful and her legs looked a lot better. They were healing better and they looked like maybe she'd be okay and that they would heal. But in June of 2019, she had allegedly then picked the skin grafts off. She remade all the wounds and then some, and it was even worse than before. According to a Redditor, this was from a Reddit post, so definitely take it with a grain of salt, but she apparently posted a video waiting outside a psychiatrist's office as her psychiatrist called her dermatologist. She wore shorts to show her psychiatrists how bad her legs were again, as like a cry for help. And in July, she was admitted to a psychiatric unit for 2 days. Some other sources say 3 days, but this was so that she had to allow the doctors to try to save her legs and care for her wounds. In 2020, she's denied pain meds from her doctors yet again. Again, this time it was definitely because they didn't want her to not be able to feel her legs, because they were worried that would make the picking worse. Her health is deteriorating even further. Now she's losing feeling in parts of her legs and she's losing mobility. She can't walk very far. And this is the real reason why you should not seek out photos of this, because the blister photos, like at the beginning, are one thing, and then they get pretty, like, she kind of looks like she has severe burns later. Like, it does get worse and worse, but there's photos after she got the skin grafts and then allegedly destroyed the skin grafts. There's pictures of her lower leg. I'll describe it to you right now. If you've made it this far, you might as well. That there's an actual hole in her leg. Like, there's a picture of her leg, and there's a literal, she's gone all the way through the leg and you can see through the other side. There's a massive hole in her leg. There's also a video of her cutting one of the nerves, which most people, I think that's the video that throws people over the edge often. A lot of people that were saying they're desensitized, but that was the video that really, really sent them. It was that kind of stuff. So unless you're like a surgeon or something, or very, very okay with things that make people squeamish, if you're into that, you could probably handle the pictures. But for 95% of the population, highly recommend not looking. So now there's rumors going around that in order to make the wounds this bad, Kelly is injecting her own wounds with feces, or she's like rubbing feces on the wounds in order to keep them infected and in order to make them worse. I just want to be very clear. That's a part of the story that comes up everywhere, but I have no idea if that is true or not. It is just a rumor. There is no source I could find that actually proved that one way or the other. Some Redditors, literally Redditors, so again, that's not a source whatsoever, but they claim that her legs were tested, like some of the skin on her legs were tested and tested positive for fecal matter, and that was the proof. But I don't take I don't take a random Redditor's word for it. So those were just rumors. I have no idea if that's true. It would make sense that she was doing something along those lines to if she was trying to make them really this bad. So her legs are that bad. There's literally like holes through her legs. You can see the bones and the tendons because her wounds have gotten so bad. And in May of 2021, finally, the doctors say there's really nothing more we can do. There's no fixing these wounds, and we think you need to get both your legs amputated. She had just run out of options at this point. A lot of people speculate that maybe Kelly really didn't know that it would go this far, that if she just kept making the wounds worse and worse, she would eventually recover if she just stopped doing these things. I think some people believe that maybe if she had known that it was really gonna go this far, maybe she would have stopped. But again, it's impossible to know. She got the surgery and she got both of her legs removed. She posted this in May of 2021 after her surgery. And this is kind of where Kelly's story starts to end. She posted a couple times after the amputation. She did update everybody and say that she was going to pursue prosthetics. There was a couple posts about that, but then everything went private and she stopped posting really ever since. As far as we know, she is at least alive now. She's in a wheelchair. I think maybe she's working on getting prosthetics still. But I mean, her legs are gone. Back to these troll sites. I did look through the troll sites. I had to get, a good picture of this story. They're about as bad as you can imagine. You can find archives still on Locale and Kiwi Farms all about Kelly. And also another big one is Reddit/illness fakers. I feel like more people are at least more fair and compassionate on Reddit, but there's still a lot of very, very big bullies on Reddit as well. So it's just people, calling her an attention whore, revealing personal information about her, making fun of her, mocking her like crazy, and just saying vile, vile things. Regardless of your opinion about Kelly, like whether she deserves this or that, or it was fake or not, yada, 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 the mocking and the weird vile things I just don't get. It's like either all these people online are 12 years old, or even sadder, they're grown adults that have no lives. It's just very weird to me to just say cruel things to somebody when they didn't do anything to you. I just don't get it. Anyway, however, in response to this, Kelly did the worst thing that she possibly could have done online, which was created fake accounts. She pretended to be either her twin sister and even her therapist, coming to Kelly's defense. But people are fairly confident that this was just Kelly making random anonymous accounts. And she even shared some of the health assessments with the group, including the mental health stuff. These revealed that Kelly did in fact have CPTSD, among other things, and some stuff, about her spending time in a psychiatric hospital. Proof of that and whatnot. All the old posts are a huge rabbit hole. You could go read them for hours, and I spent quite a bit of time scrolling through some of it because again, I can't relate. I can't relate to hating somebody that much when you don't even know them. That's very, very difficult for me to grasp. Not to be morally superior. Like, I'm definitely not. I'm human. I understand hate watching. I understand not being a fan of people online that have not done things that align with your morals. I get that and I can understand it. But the hatred, just the pure hatred, it was like people To me, all that screams is like people that really, really, really hate themselves. They hate themselves so much that they need a distraction from it. So if they hate somebody else, then they don't have to think about how much they hate themselves. That's all I can think of. So anyway, this was an extreme case of possible Munchausen's by internet. I really wanted to talk about this case today, also because there's just a lot of stuff coming up about the new buzz phrase for it is sickfluencers. And it's a lot of people, like we know that one girl who faked cancer to get attention and get money and scammed a bunch of people allegedly because of this. Is it alleged? I don't know. But the people on TikTok faking Tourette's that we found out recently, and there just seems to be all this stuff of faking illnesses for attention online. I think those cases are different than Kelly's, in my personal opinion, because I think Kelly really was struggling with a mental health issue, obviously, or she would not have hurt herself that severely, so severely that she literally lost limbs. The Tourette's fakers and other, cancer fakers and stuff, like they never actually harm themselves. They're literally doing it for either money or views, which in my opinion, that's not mental illness. That is just clout chasing, and that is harming other people in those groups, people that actually have Tourette's, people that actually have cancer, of course, and whatever else, like there's many others that people are faking nowadays. And that is an important distinction, in my opinion. I personally believe that Kelly had such a severe mental illness that I don't think that she is the same as others. I think she was struggling way more. I think those other people were, again, in my opinion, just clout chasing. And I think that's the difference. Okay, guys, that is going to be it for today. Please like the video just to support the channel if you want. Don't forget our sponsor, Factor, for being so fantastic, such a great company. And all my other links will be down below this video. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much. I know I missed a video this month, but just rest assured in June, I'm definitely going to have at least 4 videos up because I have 4 sponsorships that need to go up in June. So yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thank you so much to all the patrons on the screen. Special shout out to the top tiers: Colin Holmes, The Deck of Cards, Michelle Valdovinos, Tom L, Little Kittle Cat, Mitchell Schaefer Meyer, Mike, Alice Paul, Brittany Phillips, Willow Winchester, Bambi, Momo Neon, Philip J, Marita 144, Sage K, Elderly Hipster, Reese Rolls, The Puppy Hag, Rebecca Jackson, Toby, Carter, Kawakan Anime and Gaming Convention, Sonder, Sarah the Crazy Fish Lady, Blood for the Koi, Larkar, Maxie, Ashley Danielle, Ellison Luna, Julietta, Cece Picard, Sophia Wood, A Bunny apparently, Leon Vanek, Destiny Riley, Literally Lacey, Elliot Fink, I Am In Your Walls, Habromania, Cyberdog Investigations LLC, Vicky Cat, Amy B, Tick Hirsch, MX Carmelia, Cami J, Dead Without the E, Ball, Olivezilla, Chara, OEMRJ, and our newest, Izzy.